Okay, hi Lokesh, welcome back to the class. So today we are going to see about AWS. What is AWS? Why it is like a an top cloud provider among others. So we'll be seeing. I will see what is AWS, and we have some more general discussion about AWS, and then we will move to IAM. What are the IAM section? Like what are user groups, policies, roles that we're going to explore today. So, okay, let me move back to the first slide. Mm. So, AWS, it's one of the cloud provider. So, similar to AWS, we have multiple cloud providers. Like this AWS is like Amazon Web Services, which is been provided by Amazon team, and then the top three cloud providers are mostly like AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP, because currently like AWS occupies 35% of the global market. Okay, compared to the global market, how much IT companies and organizations would be there and data centers will be there. Among that, AWS occupies more than 35 percentage of their data centers, because it's very easy to use, and you while you starting to learn cloud environments, you first start to learn with AWS, because here we have almost 200 plus services are there. And uh, the US very good, so you get a lot of options to explore there. So compared to other cloud providers, so they started way back in like some early 2000s, and they are been industry for more than 20 years now. um, if you compare to AWS, the competitor would be like mostly like Microsoft Azure. They occupy like 20% of the market, and then GCP is there. They occupy around just 10% of the global market. Rest are like they have their applications running in their own data centers, and there are different cloud providers are there, like Alibaba is there, Virtual is there, and then Oracle is there. So different cloud environments are there. So, but for you to learning about some cloud environment, you just start. We are going to start with the AWS, and the scope of getting job on if you learn AWS is also too high compared to other tools. That's the reason we have been learning the AWS. Okay, so this AWS is being used by most of the product-based companies as well. Like in most organizations, they will be having the combined cloud environment. They will have Azure, GCP, but even with that, they will be using AWS much more in their organizations. So we all know like the Amazon Prime and Netflix are actually running in the AWS. So whatever the service that we are going to learn by using those services and the architecture, they frame an architecture and then they deploy the applications. So let me move to here. So these are the some of the like top services in AWS. Even though when I was highlighting, there are 200 plus services that are available for you in the cloud environment. Uh, the most probable services for any application or you are to deploy any while you frame an architecture and then you deploy some application. So these services will be helpful for you, like Amazon EC2, ECR, ECS, Lambda, IAM, S3, RDS, Aurora, so SQS, Sun Cloud Formation, and gateways, load balancers. So let me just give an overview about the services, whatever we see in this slide. So these services, the colors that you see in the yellow one, in the orange one, these are mostly like some compute types. Compute types where you deploy your application. You have to deploy your application, and either you can request some 1 GB of RAM and 1 GB of one machine, and then you can deploy in your application. Um, and then if not, if you feel like you no need to reserve some services, you straight away want to deploy the application, you can use Amazon ECS. So IAM, so where you will be maintaining the username and user groups and their policies. S3 to store some static files or some any log files. So and then RDS, Amazon RDS is one of the database which is very powerful. So this Amazon Aurora is actually built on top of RDS, but It's similar to RDS, but this Aurora is actually created by Amazon team itself. And then DynamoDB for non-relational database. Usually, I think I have already communicated to you in the previous classes. Usually, databases are two types. One is relational database and non-relational database. So the relational databases will have some tables, schemas, and everything. But this non-relational database, they don't have any tables or schemas. They will be like an JSON file. You dump the data directly into them, and then if based on the entry point, like some ID, you retrieve the data and then you access them. Elasticsearch, Elasticsearch. So it's kind of a thing like when your application keeps on like requesting a query to a database, the load on the database is gets high. So in order to offload that, this elastic cache is there. So if you have like if you know that a query, this query is going to be called for the complete day around like 20,000 times or 30,000 times, so and then you will make some logic changes in the code. So the first time alone, the query will be run directly in the database. From the second and third times, the query will be fetched from the elastic cache. That's the use of elastic cache. And then this SNS and SQL services are top pub and sub models. So what is this pub and sub model means? So the best example would be like your OTP. So whenever you log into any application, you get an OTP, right? Those things are actually mostly handled by this SQS and SNS services. Um, and then CloudWatch, CloudTrail are there. This is to like for some observability purpose. Observability means to monitor your application, whatever the application you deployed, or in order if you change something in your cloud environment for auditing purpose, you will have all those logs in the CloudWatch and the CloudTrail. And then API Gateway, load balancers, CloudFront. So these things are some routing services like um, because you will have a number of EC2, but you want a common endpoint for your end user to access. Those things will be handled by ELB, Elastic Load Balancer, and CloudFront are used to reduce the latency. And then Amazon Route 53 is one of the DNS service. So DNS service instance. So if you consider like some Facebook.com, in the backend we will know a name record is there, which will be mapping the domain name with a public IP address. So this Amazon Route 3 is one of the services. It's a popular services um, which is used for DNS management. You can request like create a domain there, or if you have any existing domains, you can import those domain names and name server addresses, and then you can do the configurations. So these are the just an overview because before I start off this class, I just wanted to give some basic knowledge about the services what we are going to discuss in the class. Uh, Let me move down to the next slide. So, AWS was way back started in the early uh, uh, 2000, uh, but now if you see when they launched, they have only the EC2 instance, but now we know it has 200 plus services. So each and every year they adapt a few things. So now they are like a global leader in cloud environment. So if you go for any other nation without this cloud environments, um, there is nothing to like. They are moving to cloud because they want to have the good scalability of their applications. Because in AWS constructed a lot of data centers, so what they could have done is like they don't know when the demand will come, so they cannot have all these servers based on an on-demand traffic. So that's the reason they move to cloud, like the applications based on the traffic that can be scalable in the cloud environment. So that's one of the reason everybody is moving to cloud. But even though the scalability is one of the key considerations for moving to cloud, the one thing about the organizations that are like thinking to move cloud or not is the thing like data compliance. So because you are like hosting an organization, there will be some particular data about some users. right? Some particular some sensitive information will be there, some bank transactions will be there, some account information will be there, right? It need not to be shared with others. So and they are not sure like where they like what in what kind of servers they will actually host this data. That's the reason most of the investment banking or like banking sectors still don't trust the cloud environments. They have their own data centers where they deploy their applications. So only like maybe like some cross cloud platform, like cross cloud or some hybrid cloud. So um, like hybrid cloud instance, they will have few of the applications. The only the front end part or back end part will be in the cloud environment. The database still will remain in there on-prem. On-prem means like you host and machine, right? Like similar to that, in your room you can buy different servers and you can host applications there. So that is what we call on-prem. So they will have the front end and back end in the cloud environment, and the database in the on-prem servers. That is what we called as hybrid cloud environment. So let me move back to something. So like in 2023, AWS has generated like 90 million and in annual revenue. So that's very high. So like because you consider they've been like their services are actually being used by multiple organizations. So these numbers are defining that. So then there are multiple users that been using cloud. Even though like even today, developers in most of the organization know about cloud services because they write the code and they want to deploy, right? So if they have the knowledge of what this AWS provides, they would it will be better for them to fine tune their code and make their deployments in such that way. So. Uh, Let me move back to the next slide. So these are the some of the organizations that actively uses AWS today. Like you might have heard of this 21st Fox Century, and then McDonald's, Activision, Netflix. These are like the popular products that we know, and their applications we have been used. So they are using the AWSs for to host their applications. So when it comes to AWS, the first thing you might be know is like AWS regions. What is these regions? Availability zones and the data centers and the edge locations. Um, the region because in the throughout the world, so India is kind of a region, and then US is kind of a region, UK is a region, like Singapore is a region, right? So each and everything like you consider we are dividing it as a region, okay? In each and every region you will be have at least two like minimum is like three availability zone and the max is six. Okay, what is this availability zones? Because consider like Hyderabad or Mumbai, so where we actually have this AWS availability zones. Okay, availability zones and regions, because Mumbai is one region and then Hyderabad is one region. Let me consider the Hyderabad. Okay, so in I consider Hyderabad is one of the AWS region. So you deployed application, you want to deploy the application to Hyderabad, so your end users can access the application very fast. Even like if I have a single data center, what would happen if the single center goes down due to some natural disaster or something some fire accidents in the data center? What would happen? The entire data that you have been deployed in Hyderabad will be gone. So to avoid this, what this AWS do in the Hyderabad region, they have three at least three availability zones. That means they are splitting your application deployments, like region A, region B, region C. Consider a region A, region B, and like sorry, availability zone A, B, and C. They splitted. They have three data center. These three this in the availability zones we have the data centers. We have different data centers. Okay, in the same availability zones, consider an area where you have n number of data centers. That region we call it as availability zones, and then in the region the total availability zones like A, B, C, we call it as regions. Let me explain it in some differently. Um, Consider this is Hyderabad. Okay, this is the Hyderabad HYD. Okay, here you will be. This is called our regions. Okay, this is what we call it as region. Now here we have three data like three availability zones. This is called AZA. That means availability zone A. This is called as AZB, and then it is called as AZC. We Hyderabad is a region. We have three availability zones in that. Inside the each and every area of availability zones A and B, you will have different data centers. Here I have all data center one. Here I have data center three. So this each and small every small box represents a data center. Because why we have this three data centers is like if I have some data center goes down, so all these data centers are interlinked, so they will exchange the data immediately to the data center one or two. And if the entire availability zone goes down, this availability zones also got interlinked, so the data will be replicated. So because you host an application, the data is so important. You in any cases like any natural disaster or any worst cases, you never want to lose those data, because if you lose the data, you completely lost all your revenue and your profit of your organization. So it should not happen. That's the reason, because data persistent is very it's required in the cloud environment. That's the reason that's the reason they are hosting their data centers like this. I hope you got it. So, and then the last thing would be like edge locations. So, like similar to these data centers, they will have some edge locations, like maybe like inside the data center or outside the data center. This is to give you, this is like an edge location, because you consider I have a one more application. So, like consider that one more region is there. Consider like US East. US East means it is in um, it's in like it's in America. Okay, it's in USA now. Or consider I'm hosting an application here, but the user from the India has to consume from the Hyderabad or from Bangalore or from Calcutta, wherever he has to consume it. For in order for you to consume the application very faster, they created something called edge locations. So this when you deploy your application, you what will happen? The your application consider you are hosting in the USA, so this application should be replicated to this edge location as well. That means should be cached. So what is this cache? While in your phone, you also might be clearing the cache, right? Once you went to Instagram, you went to like Facebook. Once you played your uh, once you played some games or some you used some applications in Android phones, you must be something called cache is there. What is this cache? So this cache means whatever the current runtime that you are holding, that will be present for you in the cache, right? um, Similar to that, you will have I am holding like hosting the application in USA, but I am doing the cache in some of the in Hyderabad regions or in the Singapore or in the South Africa, anywhere. Like I will be caching that. So this some of the application users will be available here as well. So if any user access it, it already cached. Main application is hosted here, but some of the details of the applications are cached here. So you if the end users in the India can access the application from directly from this edge location, and the latency is reduced. Latency means the time that for an application takes to respond to you. So the latency will also be reduced. Now instead of application from the end users directly going to USA, like because it has to travel to different network hubs and it will take time. So now the applications can be accessed from the nearest edge location itself. So this the common infrastructure setup that is done by Azure. Um, if you go to this website, You can see throughout the world. Mm, you can see throughout the world where we have these regions. So Canadian West is a region, in like US East is a region. So these are like some this US East is like a popular data region because not all the services will be available in all the regions. Because it provides a 200 plus services, right? And not all the data centers are equal to each other. So like US East Onio is one of the biggest data center, because most of the IT companies that we work, it's like the American projects, right? So they will not why and then they are distributing it. So consider like there is one general thing I want to discuss to you. So if your users consider um, you have some user details, like consider like USA peoples, they create some applications, and everybody is from US. So this data, whatever they will store it in some database. Consider their application data is in some relational database, like consider in Amazon RDS. This data should not be present, like the data that we extracted from the USA should not be placed in some other regions, because that is called data compliance. So whatever the data that you end users that you collected, that you storing in database, should not be moved to other regions, like Hyderabad. That is some kind of the complaints issue. So you have to store the data within the USA itself. So that's the reason we have. So many countries have this standard policy. So and the standard policy and protocol. That's the reason throughout the world, wherever you go, like Europe has different data centers, and then you see like Dubai, India. India it's mostly like Hyderabad and Mumbai, and then you see Singapore, Japan, China. So these are the this is what I want to communicate to you. So let me move back to next slide. Mm, and then uh, so we already I think I have given enough details about these things. Mm, okay, so how we choose this AWS region? The first thing I was talking about is like data complaints. The data that you gathered from USA should not be um, like transferred or should not be placed in other regions. So due to the restrictions or the protocols. So proximity is like the latency, how fast you can access the data, and how reliable the service. And for each and every see, we have 200 services. Not all the regions will only 200 services, and also the pricing will change according to each and every region. If it is like a famous data center, is a very big center, the data cost is going to be higher there. You consider like US East Onio, the price for us to deploy in US is little higher compared to the other regions, because it has availability zones of 6 availability zones. So if you go for some other regions, it will have only 3 availability zones. So that's the reason, because when you have multiple availability zones, then your data getting distributed will be also higher. I will be higher. So you have to pay much more cost here. So that's the thing here. And then we spoke about availability regions. So minimum 3 availability zones will be there, and max is 6. So and each of them are actually interconnected. We talked about Amazon edge locations. We have currently 400 plus point of presence are edge locations. Um, so in order for your applications to get faster response and with reduced latency, we will be doing this cache things. And then some of the in AWS, as I told, there are 200 services. Some of them are actually global, and some of them are like some regional specific. Global means when you deploy that, when you use that service, you will not be choosing the region. So this is my AWS console, right? Uh, this is how it looks. So if you go here in the right and upper corner, you'll be seeing a different regions here. You see North Virginia is there, Ohio is there, North California is there, Oregon is there, Mumbai, Oscana, Singapore, Sydney, Central, Frankfurt, Ireland, London. So these are the top AWS regions. Okay, so, like if you consider the EC2, you can it's some compute resource, right? Obviously, it has to be deployed in some data centers because you want a one CPU core and 1 GB of RAM memory machine that has to be you have to get that from actually from the data center. But like like the IAM is just a user, right? From the console you can create the user. You no need of taking care like where this user has to be hosted or something. So IAM is like a global service, EC2 is like a regional service. If you go to EC2, I just went to EC2. Here you can choose the different regions where you want to deploy the application. If I click IAM, you search it for IAM and you go IAM, immediately it will be changed to global here. You see it changed to global, and you cannot choose the region here because IAM is a global service. In IAM you will be creating some user groups, roles and policies what this user actually need to be performed in the cloud environment. Those things and all you can control from the IAM. So similar to that only we have Route 53. Route 53 is we know DNS service like the ENM record mapping, like the facebook.com in backend some public IP address will be there, and then the CDN. So we talked about edge locations, right? Uh, in order for your application to be cached across the different regions, you must be having this CloudFront. This CloudFront uses this edge locations. So and then some other services like EC2, Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda. So the difference between EC2 and Lambda is like EC2. In order for you to deploy EC2, you need some compute resource, whereas the Lambda is serverless. Serverless like you no need to reserve like create an machine from the cloud for whatever the application you order to run. Just tell my application needs like zero point 0.5 CPU core and like 500 MB of RAM. Then just give the specific details, then the application will run. You don't have the control over the platform where it is running because it's my laptop, right? I install the Python, I install some Kubernetes, I install the Minikube, and I do all the underlying infrastructure control, right? But here in the cloud environment, in the Lambda, you don't get that. So I think I didn't add the basic slide. So let me tell about you something. Mm, Consider like AWS is like offering 200 plus services. 200 plus services are there in AWS. So these services, there is a huge difference. Let me take. mm, the best example will be this one. I hope you can see my screen now. So we know cloud of the AWS offers 200 services. Like each and every services can be like differentiated into these three types. One is IaaS, one is PaaS, one is SaaS. What is this? IaaS. IaaS means infrastructure as a service. P PaaS means platform as a service. SaaS means software as a service. And one more thing will be like on-prem. So in your on-prem, like if you have some, if you're like have some room where you want to like host some data center, you will be like in the initially what you will do, you will order for some like some lap some machines, and then you do the configuration and everything, right? So what you have to handle? You have to handle everything in your on-prem. It's your thing. So you have to handle the network, you have to handle the storage, you have to handle the server, visualization, OS, middleware, runtime, data, application. So these many things are there, right? First, you have to know what kind of networking my application is going to use. Storage, where are you going to store the data, and the server, what is like the CPU and the RAM, and then like virtualization and what is the OS, like it's a Windows or Linux, and then runtime. What runtimes do we need to install? Like it's a Python, Java, and how you going to have the data sets, and then on the top you will be deploying the application. This is what we know about this basic stack. But when we move to cloud platforms, all the services are cataloged into falls under these three catalogs, the IaaS, PaaS, and service. So they will take care of the underlying infrastructure. What we have to take care? We have to take, if you go for like EC2, EC2 is an IaaS service. They will take care of network, they will take care of the storage, they will take care of the CPU and RAM, and they will take care of the installation. OS also, they will provide the OS. If not, you will be importing your own OS also. That's also possible. Only you will get that machine and you deploy the runtime and then you deploy the application. That is called IaaS, infrastructure as a service. When it comes to PaaS, platform as a service, what you will do there? So you got all the infrastructure, you and your runtime is also deployed. You just need to provide some like you bought the application, like consider RDS is a platform, a PaaS service, because consider RDS is using MySQL. MySQL, it's an actually it's kind of a third party tool. Okay, you can also in your on-prem you can install the MySQL and then you can do these things. So here in the IA service, you are getting just the machine, but in the PaaS service, along with the machine, I will be have this SQL installed for me. Why the SQL has to be installed here? Because if you are installing it, you have to manage, like you upgrade, like any new features has to come, you have to take care of those things. But here in the PaaS service, they will take care the replication, because replication is important, right? Replication means the data that you put in the database should be available for you at any cost. So those things and everything in the PaaS services will take care. Just you have to create the thing and then you can use it. What is then there is something called SaaS. What is this SaaS? Everything they will take care. What they from the underlying infrastructure, the third party software and the application details, everything. Like Facebook is kind of a SaaS service, and then your Instagram, because they hosted a complete product, and then you pay something, or you pay, or like it's free, you use them. That's it. You don't need to worry about what is there. Like you know, you liked the feature, you like the software, then that is what we called as SaaS. So this is a basic difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So like EC2, consider like EC2 falls under IaaS, and then RDS comes to like PaaS, and then SaaS you consider like some Facebook or Instagram or something else, like any software that you think they provide as a service. Uh, Let me. So that's it about the general AWS. Let me move to this IAM section. So what we have in IAM. So let me go here. So how you have to redirect it is like you just go to search bar and then you search for IAM. It will be create IAM. What is this? First of all, this IAM means. IAM means identity, access, and management. So that is what we called IAM. Identity and access management. So in the IAM, you will be creating users and groups and roles and policies. So obviously, a lot of things are there, because whatever like mm, in order for you to tell, So basically you need to know about difference between uh, authorization and authentication. Okay, what these two? Okay, let me put. So for in order to you to tell the thing, simple thing, authentication means whether you able to log in or not. Like who are you? Okay, okay. Consider like authentication as like authors like
Two-factor like that.
wait, yeah. Authentication comes like who are you? Always consider like authentication who are you, because your credential must be added in some in some, yeah, identity provider. Then alone it will able to recognize, yeah, I have this user account with me. You access them. Okay, that is called authentication. Authorization means um, authorization means what you can do. So you logged in. After you logged in, what are the services that you able to perform? Because I told like 200 services that it might be a production environment, whether you can access only this resource, or particularly you can give access to like this user should only have access to EC2 and S3. This user should not have access to anything like any modification purpose. You should not have. You just only need to have some reader permissions. That is what we call um, authorization. Okay, so authentication verifies who are you, like two-factor and all you do, right? While you do, what is the two-factor authentication? The first factor would be like your username or password, your username or tokens or something. You provide your email ID, because anybody can provide that username. If you because I can also know your Gmail ID. Okay, but I don't know your password. That is the first password. If I got your password, that is the first mode of authentication, right? I got your user credentials. Then then that's the reason we have the second. If I got that password, I can also log in and do the steps. That's the reason we go for two-factor authentication. Either we go for some we will come up there. So consider like you are using the two-factor authentication with mobile number, right? That is this every steps comes under the authentication section. And in authorization, once you log into my cloud platform or into any other platform, what are the specific actions that you can do? Either you can delete, you can create, or you can update, you can just view. Those things are comes under the authorization. So that is what we're going to see here. Okay, in the IAM section, there is user research. This user defines. So like I will create some user. Um, so you go to the under the IAM section, you go to the user and you create my. I'm going to create my first user. I'm going to create my username called Satish, and then provide access to your UC. Provide user access to AWS management console or not. If I don't click this user will not have access to the console itself. You will only have the CLI things. So what is this CLI? Must be having somewhere. Right? Hmm. As we were using, what is this? First of all, we see this CLI. This is console. Okay, consider this is our console. Let me first complete this thing. So okay, in the user, I provided access to the console. One then I do like specify user in identity center. I want to create an. Then I choose the option. This user Satish will have access to the console, and then I click next. Uh, wait. Hmm. So then you see, I want to create an IAM user. This is different. This option, if you have some identity provided, where it will take you. Like if you have Facebook or something, your account. If you want to do some SSO means single sign on. Those times you use this option. You just give the name and you choose. This user will have option in the console, and then password. I give some custom password like DevOps at 123 something. I will show the password here for you like DevOps. Only the D is capital, and then you show the password. User must create a new password when they sign in. That's okay for me. When the user is going to log in, he will be going to log in with a new password. That's fine for me. Never. And it asking to add that user to some particular group. For now, I'm not going to add any access to this user. Only like let me go to some other role, uh, and then review and create. So I created a username called Satish, and the password is some custom password I set up. Requires password reset at the time I will log in, and the permission it assigned automatically me is like I am user change password. Okay, so in the permission, what I do is like attach the policy directly. Okay, I choose an option called attach policies directly. So what is this policy? So when the user is going to log in, what are the roles that this user has to access? Because I have 200 users, some of their services are very critical that he never wants to disturb those things. Those things and all we should control here. Okay, so I'm giving like easy to full access, and then I'm giving IAM. Just check it here like there will be some lot of default policies are there. These policies you can use. So if you want, it will come up there. Just what observe here, like I'm giving the EC2 full access and the IAM full access here. And the next, you see what are the policies I'm attaching. Amazon EC2 full access and IAM full access, and then I create the user. Mm. Now what it says, the user has been created successfully for me. Now I can select it. Okay. Return to user list. Now the account initially which I used is called my root user account. Okay. Now I go back to the internet and then in AWS login. I think array, it's taking time. Let me open a new browser. In the same browser. Ah, click the sign in option. You will get the same thing. So you know the sign in option. I just give the AWS sign in. So here you see. First what it is like give the account ID. So each and right now, so for me when I created this AWS account, um, when I created this AWS account, I have given my email ID. That email ID is the root email ID. Okay, so big and it will give you something called account ID. You have some number here, right? You copy that number because the username that I used to log in this browser, it is the admin node. Okay, this admin node all the by default it will have all the all the roles to perform here. But what I want to show is like if I go to EC2 and then I go to some mm, like I type EFS or something, I can go it right. Like you can see I can go and I can do the creation and all. Okay, but when you come to an user that I want created, it will be have access to only the only to the IAM and EC2 instance. So now what I want to show you is like, let me go here. Not here. In the account ID, you when you mostly in the organization, this is how you get. They will give you the root ID. Under that, you will give the username password. I give on the root ID password, and I know the password here. The offset 123. I will delete this user after this demo. That's why I'm saying the password to you. Now you see it is asking me to set the new password and old password. It is suggesting some password. Mm. Now you see, I now I logged in to the same account, but here you see my username is just Satish. But when I will go to my root account, it's like Satish DevOps, because while I'm creating, in the root user, this is the name I have given. Now I know I'm logged in as an root user. What I will do is like, let me go to the IAM section back. What I want to do is like, I will remove one of the policy for the user. I click go for the user. There are policies attached to right permissions. I will remove this permission. Remove. Hmm. Now for Sadish user, we have only the IAM access. Let me go to that username, and then I go to type IAM. Because the URL will change each and every time you check. You see, here I can do any stuff. Here I can create one more user if I wanted everything. You can see it's allowing me to create or something. But what will happen? Because this user will have access to only to IAM. It doesn't have access to EC2. If I go to EC2, uh, and then if I try to launch the instance, you see, you are what is saying, you are not authorized to perform this operation. That IAM user set is not authorized to perform the dashboard. So that's the because I am giving this user like in uh, like only the IAM role. It doesn't have the access to create any EC2 machine. So let me go to my root user account. Now what I will do, I will add permissions, and then I attach the policy directory EC2 I type, and then I get the EC2 full access, and then I save it. Cool. Now it's added. Let me go here and then wait for some time to get replicated. Now you see the error is gone because I update the permission. Now I can go and create the EC2 instance here. Okay, so that's how for each and every user you will be controlling the access here. So the next thing would be is like groups. You have some. I'm actually in my root user account now. You have something called user groups here, right? What is user group? These are some logical layer. Okay. So in what do you know mean by groups? Means in groups means you will have multiple users. So like dev team will be there, and then DevOps team will be there, and then some testing team will be there, right? So I am going to create that. So I'm going to create group, and then DevOps in the DevOps team I am going to add user called Sadish. I just came to the user groups and click the create user groups and just giving the group name as DevOps, and then I'm adding the Satish here. Any roles or policies that I have attached particularly to this group. Previously, when we attached these policies, it got attached to the user itself by any other user permission that you like to add here. You can add it here. Like let me add something called EKS. Uh, EKS cluster policy is there, right? I will add it. So this EKS cluster policy is now directly going to attach to the DevOps group. From the DevOps group, it is inherited to the Satish user. Okay, now it's going to create a group. Now this is going to be created. Now you see, yeah, just a group, DevOps group it is there. Is similarly, if you have some other user, you will be creating that, and you will be like some dev team or there. Like let me create a user for you here. I will keep look. Hmm. I created your username. Now you see, your username is not connected, but you are not attached to any group. That's why it's showing zero here. What I will do is like I will go to one more. I will go to this group section. I will create one more group called development. I will take as developer, and I will add you. And then what I'm going to do is like, see, I created a group developer. Initially, I didn't provided any roles to Lokesh. I just created it, and then if you see, I what I want to do is like for this developer, I want to provide the IAM reader access. Okay, hmm. IAM read only access is there, right? I want to create you provide you a read only access. You create a group now. Now you see DevOps group where Satish is there, where I have what are the permissions for the Satish. If you go to the DevOps group, it has only the EKS cluster policy. Whereas you go to the developer group, where what's the permission there? You will be seeing the IAM read only access. But when you go for these particular users, if you go for Satish, you see this EC2 full access and IAM full access are coming directly. That's why the attachment mode is directly. And this EKS cluster role policy is coming from the DevOps group. That's why it is inherited from the group. That's why it is mentioned from it is coming from the group. Okay, you got it now. If you go back to user Loki, now you see now it you see both this read only access is coming from the group. There is no policy has been attached for you directly in the username. So this is how you can play around with this user and groups and policies. So the next thing I want to talk is like mm. So we already seen like what is this IAM user and the groups. So user groups will contain I want to just tell you like groups can have only the user, not the group. You create one more group like you create an in the groups you create one more group called testing. You create a testing and you cannot put the testing team under the groups. Each and every group should be different. In the groups you can attach only the users. Okay, that's the thing it is saying here. And then and then the users and then like um, if you're seeing here like my username is attached to DevOps, your name is attached to developer, but um, like yeah, user can be attached to different groups as well. So let me go to this developer group. Here you are only the only guy to be present. Let me add the user. Let me and then you click the checkbox and you add user. And then you see and then I saved. Now you see in the developer now I have the Loki user as well and the Satish user as well. I am also part of I am part of now two groups. Let me go to my username, and then if I check, I went inside my username, and then I can see the two groups are there. One is developer is there and DevOps is there. Now I am getting now attached to two groups. So a user can be attached for with two groups as well. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So let me and then this how these policies are getting inherited that we discuss. So let me discuss about this permission. What is this permission? What is this policy? Something you attach it, right? Like this IAM read only or cluster read only. So just for now I will click this one. Click this thing. Where it comes to the policy section. You can see it is highlighting in the blue, and the policy name is like IAM read only access, and it is like IAM. So what is the access level? Full list, full read. Then means like it has access to read everything from the IAM section. So that is what this policy tells. But if you see the policy version and all, just on file. But when you come here, the policy mostly you'll see this summary thing, the UI one, but you will not see this JSON file. So like in order for you to when you write some custom policies, you will be seeing this standard template like this. So the version is like 2012, 10, 17 only. This is the standard version for all the policies. Okay, this will not going to change unless there is any update from the AWS side. So it will have different section. The first section would be like version. Uh, you will be specifying the version, and in the statement you will have the three things: effects, action, and resource. And one more thing will be like principal thing will be principal ID is there. Uh, mm. So mm. if you see this how this IAM policy structures are there, the first thing would be the version. The second thing would be like ID. You can this ID is like you provide anything, like you provide any custom name to the policy. Okay, those names that you have to provide here in the ID. In the statement, the first thing would be like SID. This is just an optional. You specify or not, it doesn't matter. The main section should be like this effect, whether you are allowing or denying the policy. This is like some allow policy or deny policy that you mentioned that. So here I mentioned the effect as allow. Then the principal in the AWS, I'm providing some ARN, right? ARN means that Azure resource IDs. That is what we call ARN. Well, because each and every resource that you create in Azure will get an unique ID. That is what we called as ARNs. So in the principle you will be specifying who will be accessing it. Okay, like the Satish user, Lokesh user, whoever is going to be access this thing, and then in the action what they are going to perform. Okay, on which services they're going to perform. Here it's mentioned as in the S3 service he has to get the object and put the object in the, and then resource means in the S3 there are a lot of S3s there, right? If you put star means it is providing this allowing these actions for these users completely in the resource group, but only in this bucket there will be, if you created some bucket, in that bucket you have to restrict the access, then you will be specifying the bucket resource here. Okay, that's the meaning, that's how the template will looks like. So I think see here if you go for this IAM also, what you see, the version is there, the first thing would be the version is there, and inside the statement the first is allow, and then action is like it listing some multiple things: IAM list, get, generate credential, password, simulation, custom policy. It is defining in the IAM what he has to do, and then the resource is like everything. Like IAM I have different things like the user, different user is there, groups is there. In the resource it has to perform everything, because this is like and read only access. Um and okay, so now and we know this has been attached to principal like user IDs. So like this how the policy structure will look upon. So we'll going forward, when we come like create some buckets and all, we will be playing around with this policy. By either you can use this default policies that is available for you. There are a lot of default info policies, right? Like we can see like EC2 or IAM full access is right. Either you can use that, or you can create your own policies by using these policies. Like let me go here and then I like create some policy. Mm, let me create policy and then select and where you want to don't do this, always go with some JSON. You see now, you see the empty section is coming, right? Once you I click like create policy, this JSON is there and you see the version is there, statement is there and the effect is there, everything is there, right? So what I'm going to ask ChatGPT is like, give me sample JSON policy for EC2 read access. Hmm. Now you see, so it's what is given as like the version is there and the effect is allow. I'm going to allow the action and in the EC2 it has to describe the instance, describe volumes, considerable, whatever you can put it here, and the resources, every resource. Okay, that's why I mentioned the star, and then you click next, uh, and then that's it. You just review and then you create it. What it says EC2 and the limited list, and then I create the policy. Oh, sorry, I have to give custom, giving some name claim, custom EC2 read policy to create it. And then you go back to user, like I will give go back to you because you doesn't have access. You only have access to IAM. Now I'm going to add the permission for you. Uh, Now I'm going to this attach policy directly. We know what's the name I created. I created like custom EC2 something, right? Now you while you type it will come here. You just select it and then you attach and then add permission. So this UI things you no need to focus because UI don't need to like try to mug up all the options because mostly all the you have to just know the concepts what I can use for this thing. I have to do this thing because if I want computer science I will be using EC2. If I want some want to store some static files I will be creating S2. If I need some load balancing thing I will be going to load balancers. So you no need to mug up all the options that is available for you in the UI because UI is made in way so if once you go to the UI, you will do the things automatically because it is very clear UI, right? The AWS UI is. So that's it. Then now the custom EC2 read policy has been attached to the local user. So that's how you play with these policies. So tomorrow we will see little bit about these policies and we'll move to the EC2 sections. Let me stop the recording.